You're Ed Saxberger, the Ed Saxberger, right? The poet?
That was a long time ago.
You were brilliant. You wrote a masterpiece. It's as if the poems were written yesterday. They're moving, they're scathing, they're timeless. We all think so, my whole group.
Your group?
We're an artistic community of poets and artists, intellectuals.
Unlike those posers over there, they're addicts.
Heroin?
No, the phone.
We reject technology as much as we can. It rots the brain.
Everybody said that you better watch out.
He's pretentious, like a dandy.
I've been feeling very inspired since we spoke.
He has airs. Fancy, rich kid.
Stopped writing poetry?
Years ago. I worked at the post office.
A man of letters.
I guess you could say that.
I get it. That was a look at Late Fame, a new film opening today here in New York City. Starring Academy Award-nominated actor Willem Dafoe, the film follows a forgotten poet now employed at the post office until a young admirer reaches out in an attempt to reintroduce and revitalize his work. It's a moving window into art, aging, and the evolution of New York. And Willem joins us now, along with the film's director, Kent Jones. Our thanks to you both for being here. Congratulations on the film. Willem, obviously you've been in the spotlight for a long time. You've been a working actor for decades, and but how much of your own experiences did you bring into this? The idea of someone who is achieving this level of fame at different points of their life.
Well, actually, this character, for a very brief period, was making poetry. And then his life shifted, and he hasn't made poetry for a long time. And even, I got to say, when he was making poetry, the one thing I did relate to, he came to New York basically at the same time I did. And you got the sense that he was part of a downtown scene, a poetry scene, the art scene. And I know that a little bit. I experienced that a little bit. And the interesting thing is, when you were in that, there was no career path. This was for now. And you were doing it because you were young and you were turned on and you wanted to make things and you were meeting other like-minded people. But so it's very curious to think about fame. So the scene goes away. He takes a job at the post office. His life changes. He's not unhappy. And then this group of young poets refines his work and says, "You're great. Will you read with us?" And he gets sucked in to their community through their flattery and their attention. And it's very interesting.
So Ken, obviously the evolution of the art here, but we were just talking during the break about living in New York City. Yeah. I mean, and the city is such a character in this particular film. Tell us about how you chose to bring it to life in this way.
It's based on a novella by Arthur Schnitzler, so it was set in Vienna in the turn of the century, and updated by Sammy Birch, who wrote the script, to now in New York. And I came to town right around the same time that Willem did, and we both had the same experience of that scene down there, and then it disappeared. And so if you go to Soho, particularly, and you look at the neighborhood, it's very, very different, but if you just see it from a distance, it's visually the same, and so it's a very ghostly experience for someone who went through that time.
Certainly a lot more expensive these days.
It's a lot more expensive, man.
So let's take a look at a scene from the film where Willem's character, Ed, tries to share his poetry with his friends at the pool hall.
You don't have to open it now. This isn't a bridal shower.
Come on, what are you talking about? Way past go by Ed Saxberger.
I bet the pages are all blank inside.
I didn't need a reason.
Okay. Forget it. Forget it.
Hey, guess my present, man. You can't just take back a person's present. What is it?
Hey, it's a book of poems that I wrote when I was a kid.
Bullshit.
No, I wrote it in 1979. Look, that's me.
Whoa. Pretty boy.
Oh, forget it.
It's fun to watch that in the aftermath of you talking to us about the ways that this person's life has just moved on after the early part of his career where he was writing poetry. I also think about the ways that the script updates from the novella that it's based on. I mean, you initially maybe had concerns about, well, Vienna is such a central plot, but New York is now its own character. And I think it almost feels like it was a bit kismet of you guys making this film. I mean, weren't you on a flight together and you had the novella in your backpack? I mean, talk about the ways that it might have been a little written in the stars.
A friend gave me the novella and said, I think this is a movie. You should check it out. And I said, absolutely. And I was very interested. In fact, I was half thinking about chasing down who had the rights to it. Little did I know that Killer Films, the production company, had already hired Kent to do the movie, and they had a beautiful script from Sammy Birch. I didn't know that. We're sitting on a plane. We're talking about everything but this. And then 2 days later, he calls me up and says, hey, what about, I've got this project called Late Fame. And it was like, wow, talk about kismet.
Yeah, and I mean, who else was going to play that? It's just like, there's only one person who could do it. It was also Pam Koffler, the producer from Killer, was sitting 2 rows behind us.
Wow. Okay.
So talk to us about, if both chime in here, about this, still the importance of art. In this case, the written word. No cell phones. These are poems on the page, and the power of the written and then verbal word.
Poetry is very, very important to me. The film is dedicated to a poet, my friend Peter Gizzi, and there's poetry in the movie, spoken by poets that Ed Saxberger is listening to, and I think that and he reads his poem at the end at the performance, it's very important to be true to poetry instead of like a vague idea of the poetic.
And Willem, what do you hope someone who watches this, what do you hope they take home with them?
Oh, that's a large order. I first have to decide where I engage, and then try to have an experience. And hopefully, if that's sincere and something happens to me, they'll bring their own experience to it. There's a lot of beautiful themes, floating around in this. Once a poet, forever a poet. I don't know. There's different stations in life. People that want to become artists today are very different than people that wanted to become artists 40 years ago. There's a lot floating around. So I think depending on their experience, it's rich material. So I recommend the movie to everybody.
There we go. On that.
Me too.
There's the pitch. The movie is recommended by the guys starring in it. The new film, Late Fame, opens at the Film Forum and Film at Lincoln Center in New York today and in Los Angeles next week. Nationwide to follow. Actor Willem Dafoe, director Kent Jones, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Yes. We don't have enough laughter.
Let's get to the pitch.